Hello learners, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is your boss man Sagar.Utekar and currently you are watching day 2 of Linux Final Boss series where we are going to discuss about virtualization, different types of virtualization, types of hypervisors, then Linux boot process, many important intro questions and as we say always say we are going to focus on hands-on practical. I have seen that multiple tutors missed out on this particular topic, but we personally believe that this is one of those core topics which must get taught before jumping to any advanced topics such as Docker, Kubernetes, and even cloud computing. The best part is that you will do your uh, entire on-prem setup. Have you ever seen or ever get asked by the recruiter, do you have experience of managing environment, on-prem environment? And the most of the time answer is always no. Let's try to change that into yes. Okay. What we'll do, we'll install VirtualBox and configure multiple virtual machines, set up our on-prem environment there, and try to do all practicals on our on-prem setup. Second advantage maybe you will save on the cloud credits, which are very limited to do complex cloud projects. So let's save those credits for complex cloud projects, and everything else we will try to do on on-prem setup, which we are going to discuss today. Let's get started. So I have documented all the nodes on GitHub repository Linux Final Boss. If you are watching this video for the very first time, I would suggest that fork this repository, give it a star, and you can go through all the nodes from here. And at the end, I also added couple of exercises which are must to do. I'll walk you through this later. Let's start the discussion. What is virtualization? So virtualization is a technology that creates virtual versions of physical resources. Physical resources can be your servers, storage, networking, desktops, and many other things. Okay, so there are different types of virtualization. Server virtualization, which allows you to use multiple operating system on one server, running Ubuntu, running Windows virtual machine, running a Red Hat virtual machine on single server. There's a desktop virtualization, which allows you to remotely access virtual machines. And for which we use VDI, but that's not part of our agenda today. Then we have network and storage virtualization. How does this happen? So there is a abstraction which we are going to talk about hypervisor later. Okay, so virtualization abstracts the underlying hardware, allowing multiple isolated environments called virtual machines. Just to draw a simple diagram. So let's consider this is a physical resource. It can be your network, storage, then server, and we are creating isolated environments called as virtual machines. Or we are dividing that physical resource into smaller chunks, virtual chunks. Let's take example of server virtualization. This is your physical server. And on top of that, we are creating isolated environment called as virtual machines, so virtual um, servers, you can say. Okay. Couple of key components you need to know to understand how virtualization works. There is a concept called host OS versus guest OS. So host OS is this. Your physical server is host OS. Okay. Or the physical machine is your host OS. And the guests are the VM running on this. So these are guest virtual machines. Okay. And there is an abstraction layer. We call that as a hypervisor. The hypervisor emulates hardware for guests, allocating slice of CPU, RAM, disk, and network. You will ask, these are the virtual machines, a small subset of your physical server running different operating system. Right? This is let's say this is Ubuntu, then this is some other version of Ubuntu, and this is your Red Hat. Then to run that operating system, it needs CPU, memory, disk as well. Then how it does happen? So that happens through hypervisor. So there is one component which does that for virtual machines. That is the abstraction layer. So the hypervisor emulates hardware for guest, allocating slice of CPU, RAM, disk, and network. Okay. Then what is the benefit of virtualization? Efficiency. One server runs 10 plus virtual machines. So consider example of your laptop where you want to, I have a Mac, then I want also use Ubuntu. How I can do that? I don't want to go for cloud credits or cloud um, options. So I can simply use VirtualBox. On top of that, I can uh, use Ubuntu virtual machine just to do my small practical, right? So that is a benefit of virtualization. Similarly, you can create multiple virtual machines, but that is totally depends on the capacity of physical resources which you have. So ideally, you can run 10 plus virtual machines easily, which also cut down the hardware cost. So you don't need to buy separate hardwares every time. If I want to run Ubuntu, then I don't need to buy um, separate laptops, just use Ubuntu, right? Isolation. A crash in one virtual machine doesn't affect others, crucial for SR reliability. So what we are saying is that this is isolated environment for one virtual machine. Okay, so anything happens in one virtual environment doesn't affect all other environments. Scalability, spin up virtual machines on demand, and then testing for our DevOps and SRE work. So we can, create a snapshot of these virtual machines and then create a similar replica of that virtual machine again. Security. So sandbox malware analysis or multiple tenants, that is also possible. So if any security vulnerability is got detected in one of the virtual machines, that won't affect other virtual machines because it's a isolated environment. So just focus on that word. It's a isolated environment, which helps us to create multiple run multiple different operating system in its own environment or one box, and anything goes wrong in one box won't affect other environments. Okay, so what is the drawback of this? Performance hit, because we are running multiple operating system which are consuming the CPU, memory, RAM, disk, and network of your physical resources. We are ideally, dividing the resources of these physical servers with all those virtual resources. Sometimes it gets difficult because you need to take care of the virtual machine updates of the packages, and then networking, storage, you need to take care of. So that is where your cloud computing resources comes uh, handy, and then your Docker Kubernetes takes care of a lot of these things. We'll discuss about that in future. But for now, I hope this is clear what is virtualization, different types of virtualization, how it works, and all these things. Okay, let me clear this out. Now let's discuss about the hypervisors. This is the part which you can ignore if you are interested, but I would say I guess couple of times I got this question, what are hypervisors, and then just explain what is difference between type 1 versus type 2 hypervisors. So I have put down the note on our GitHub README, which you can go through it. Just let's just read all those notes just for getting prepared for the interviews. Otherwise, it's not that much difficult as well. As we discussed, a hypervisor is a software or firmware, or it's an abstraction layer which helps to create, run, and manage virtual machine. Okay, so this is your physical server. Then we have Hypervisor, and Hypervisor helps us to create, manage, and run these virtual machines. Okay, there are two different types of hypervisors. One is a type 1 bare metal hypervisor, and another is a type 2 hosted hypervisor. The type 1 hypervisor directly runs on your hardware. No host operating system is required. So in case of type 1 hypervisor, there is no host operating system. It's just it can directly run on your hardware device. Okay. And in case of type 2, it runs on your host operating system, which means our laptop where we are uh, creating installing VirtualBox, and using that VirtualBox we are creating multiple virtual machines. So that comes under your type 2 hypervisors. Performance, a type 1 hypervisor is ideal for production servers, and type 2 is for development and testing. That is what we discussed in earlier points as well, right? So use cases, type 1 hypervisor is ideal for enterprise data centers and clouds. And type 2 hypervisor is for laptops for learning. That is why we will go with VirtualBox solution. The examples are VMware ESXi, then KVM, Hyper-V, Microsoft Hyper-V are the examples of type 1 hypervisor. And type 2 hypervisors are your Oracle VirtualBox or VMware workstations. Those are examples of type 2 hypervisors. Okay, perfect. Now, I'll clear this out. I just wanted to cover this topic. Let's discuss about the third important questions for your interview process. So, Linux boot process. How Linux boot process happens. So, Linux boot process is um, sequence of turning hardware into a usable operating system. When you click that power on button, what exactly happens before you start using any software on your laptop? That is your Linux booting process. We want to understand what goes behind that. Okay. So, in some of the interviews, you will get asked, just walk me through that into Linux booting process in yes steps as you can. And this is again one of those topics which many online tutors missed out. And based on my experience, I thought that I should cover this topic definitely in the today's discussion. Okay, so Linux boot process, we will divide that into 5 points. The first one is power on self-test and firmware. Okay, so this is the first step. So hardware powers off, your firmware test all the components like CPU, RAM, disk, and in virtual machines, this is taken care by your hypervisor. The first thing is hardware is actually gets powered up, and the component firmware, it tests your components like CPU, memory, and everything. Once that is done, it locate the boot device from where to boot the operating system for your machine. Okay, how it happens? So the second step is boot loader stage. Don't worry, I have put down all these notes on GitHub README, so you can always that. This, I hope it's visible. Yes. So in bootloader stage, uh, there is a component called grub. Okay. Grub is a GNU Grand Unified Bootloader. It loads from boot sector. Grub gets loaded and then presents a menu for kernel selection. Grub loads and then kernel selection happens. Okay. So it shows menu, and then as a user, we need to select the entry, pass, and all those parameters, whatever based on the selection entry, it gets passed to the kernel. The third thing is once we have selected this, made the kernel selection, the kernel gets initialized. Okay. Kernel gets initialized, and then it starts also PID1. This is one of those very interesting questions. What is PID1? So PID1 is first process which gets start when your the Linux booting process happens. It's a we call that it's a init process, main process which starts all other processes. Then from there, actual initialization of your system starts. Okay. So in this stage, systemd process uh, reads couple of entries from etcfs tab, and then um, that is for the mount points, and then it passes units in Linux systemd system. So it starts all those systemd processes, and then it starts all the services in parallel. So whatever the processes are there in the systemd, it starts all those processes. The final stage is your user space and login. Perfect. Once that is done, you get authenticated to provide your username and password, and then it prompts you for the password, and then the actual operating system gets started for you to use, and then you can start using your software. Okay, so that is about Linux boot process. I just want to keep it simple for now. Go through the notes, and if you want me to create a detailed video on this part, then I'll create that separately. But there are a couple of more topics which I want to cover in this video. Let's get continue with that. Next, I'll come back to this thing, our GitHub notes. Okay, so the next thing is installation of your first virtual machine on VirtualBox. So what you need to do is that you can download VirtualBox from virtualbox.org, install that, then download ISO. So for every operating system, there is a ISO you need to get. If you are going with Ubuntu, then you can download Ubuntu ISO from this link, ubuntu.com download stuff. Okay, based on your host operating system, you need to download that. Then launch VirtualBox, create virtual machine. So it's very easy step. I have my VirtualBox running here. What you need to do is that once you have VirtualBox running, you can go to new and provide a name for your virtual machine, Linux the boss man. Then select that ISO image from downloaded page. Okay, what else? Yeah, then you need to provide username and password. Once that is done, yeah, you need to select hardware. This is where you provide the memory, CPU, and allocate disk for your virtual machine. Okay. So try to give couple of base memory, RAM, then allocate CPUs for your virtual machine. If you want to provide hard disk, that is fine. Like the default is 25 GB, which is enough. But if you want to increase or decrease, that you can do that. But I'll keep it default, and that is all. So I won't create this because I already have my virtual machine running. It takes time to start that virtual machine. Once your virtual machine gets started, then you can start using that like this. You will get the UI like this, and from here you can start doing practical. Same exercises which you have done in your day 1 and day 0, you can do that here as well. All the commands are available here. You don't need to spend any cloud credits for these assignments going forward. Okay. So these are the steps I have documented here. Configure VM settings, install Ubuntu in the VM. You can choose any other ISO as well. Then perform these exercises. Try to update the package or operating system, and play with networking as well. Try to ping google.com and see if networking is working fine. Then I have added one extra assignment to take a snapshot and use that snapshot to create another virtual machine. The part 6. This is what I want you guys to complete. Create multiple virtual machines, and then um, create a bridge network between those two virtual machines. Okay, and then try to access those virtual machines from one another. See if you can access both the virtual machines. Perfect. Once that is done, you need to mark this completion checklist and make sure you are writing down all the troubleshooting steps, whatever the issues you faced during this assignment. And yes, what next? So in day 3, we are going to check out very easy topic, I would say, Linux folder structure and file types. So stay tuned for that. Okay. I hope it's clear and why we are covering this important topic, Linux virtualization. And as I mentioned, that you need to complete this assignment with multiple virtual machines, create a network, try to update the packages, install the packages, remove the packages, all those practicals which whatever you have done in day 0 and day 1, you need to complete all those assignment again on the VirtualBox virtual machine. Try to check the network connectivity, add the network, bridge network, remove that, and play with it, because this is what will help you to understand Docker, Kubernetes, and master all these topics future. Okay, that is all for today. Thank you very much for watching this video till the end. See you soon. Bye bye.